Please join me in honoring America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And good evening and welcome. Roll call, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
Miss Doherty.
Here.
Miss Larraba. Here. Mr. Leahy.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
Miss Martin.
Here.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. Under special order of business, we have 2 items this evening. The first is the appointment of the Director of the Special Education appointment. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's with great pleasure to inform the committee tonight that out of the field of 18 applicants that Sheila O'Brien has bringing her forward. Sheila, if you'd like to come forward. With over 30 years' experience in special education, Ms. O'Brien brings a strong set of experiences, skills, and beliefs to her work. Having come to Lowell in 1999 after serving as a special education teacher and evaluation team chairperson, her administrative work in Lowell, encompassing preschool through high school, includes serving as an evaluation team chairperson, a district coordinator, and assistant administrator for special education. Ms. O'Brien brings a proven track record of commitment to excellence in education for all children, passion for the work we do, and a strong belief that we can all make a difference in the life of a student. I am confident that her depth of knowledge in special education, her administrative skills, and strong leadership will serve her well as the Director of Special Education. I request the school committee's approval for the appointment of Sheila O'Brien to the position of Director of Special Education.
I'd like to entertain a motion. Motion by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. Any discussion? Roll call. To appoint Sheila O'Brien to the position of Director of Special Education.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Larraba.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor to be selected for the SPED Director, and I thank you for putting your confidence in me. I've been fortunate to work collaboratively and cooperatively with many wonderful people here in Lowell, and everyone is focused on student achievement. The strength of the department lies not in the programs, purchase programs, or in the approaches, but in the day-to-day high-quality instruction of all teachers for all students. I welcome the opportunity to take on this challenging position. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next item under special order of business, Spotlight on Excellence, the Fulbright Hayes Study Abroad Project. I know we have a representative who will come to the microphone and walk us through a presentation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Mayor Malinazzo, members of the school committee, superintendent and deputy superintendent, as well as the 2 assistant superintendents. This summer, we had a wonderful experience, and some of the members of the Fulbright team are here with me tonight. There are 9 of us all together, and we had a wonderful opportunity to experience Cambodia and to learn about the history and culture of our students and families. And there are 9 members, all of us together, so when I call your name, please stand up. Of course, me, Pala Chia, and we have David Grenier, teacher at the Robinson School, Sarah McPhee, teacher at the Merklin, Megan O'Laughlin, teacher at the Wang, Jan Arabas, professor at MCC, and Claire Kamasaki from MCC as well, professor there, Samkan Kuhn, who is a staff of MCC as well as Lowell Public Schools, and Margaret Brack, a professor at MCC. So we're very fortunate, and we would like to have this opportunity to share some of our experiences with you. And, you know, the goals and objectives that we went to Cambodia with was basically to find ways to bring what we learned from Cambodia to the classroom, because we want to be able to impact the students and be able to interact with families better in our school system. So I would like to share some of the slides that we were able to capture for you. So Fulbright Hayes would not be possible, the study abroad tour, would not be possible without Kent Mitchell, who is the Dean of International Programs, and he's here with us this evening. Thank you so much, Dean Mitchell. Dr. Chris Scott, Superintendent. Jean Franco, Deputy Superintendent, Lowell Public School and MCC collaboration and partnership, and support of the school committee members. So these are the members of our group. There were 15 of us all together representing Lowell Public Schools and Middlesex Community College. And here are some of the goals and objectives that we were able to capture during our trip. We learned the culture and history of Cambodia. We tried to improve the different ways in which we could impact our teaching and learning and develop meaningful lessons and curriculum in our classroom, improve interactions with families, acquire international or instructional resources and materials, make connection with students, educators, school staff, and nonprofit organizations to promote exchanges and support, and also to promote a continuum of collaboration in all levels of education. And while we were in Cambodia, we had opportunities to go visit the U.S. Embassy. We met the Minister of Education in Cambodia. We also met our host institution, which was the Panyasastra University, and we met with the founder of the university, Dr. Cole Payne. And we also had an opportunity to meet with the faculty of the university there and did some exchanges of ideas and interests. We toured different campuses of the university. There were 3 campuses that we visited in Phnom Penh, in Siem Reap, and Battambang. And there's a sample of our agenda of our meeting. It's very small. I know that you probably can't see it, but we had a full agenda while we were there. We had opportunities to tour the classrooms, meet the faculty, as well as have conversations with the students there. And this is an example of our meeting with the students. The students are very curious about what life is like in the U.S., and they would love the opportunity to have, to continue having connections with us, as well as having exchanges of maybe communication between our students and our teachers. Hopefully we will be able to build that connection with them. And we visited schools, elementary, middle, and high schools, and we saw an example of how students get to school each day. Some get there by boat. They have schools along the rivers on boats. So this is some of the ways that students get transported. And they provide their own transportation, which is very different from our city. And these are some of the presentations that students had to perform in order to pass their college or their high school. These students are in performing arts, so they had to perform a dance or a circus act in order to pass. And we visited Dol Slein Prison. Dol Slein Prison was used, this high school was used as a prison during the Khmer Rouge era. And during the Khmer Rouge era, they were responsible for the death of about 20,000 people in that prison. And so we had the opportunity to tour the prison, as well as met one of the survivors. Mr. Mai Chomai, he was one of the 12 survivors out of the 20,000 people. So we had an opportunity to meet him. We attended a shadow puppet performance. We visited the Angkor Temple. We met with villagers. We went to the temple, met with villagers, musicians, and we toured the open market, the rice fields in Cambodia. We toured Kulane Mountain, and what was sad about Kulane Mountain is that the villagers, one of their occupation is to beg. So when we went up the mountains, there were a lot of villagers just begging for money, from babies all the way to the elders in the community. And this is an example of floating village there. You see a boat and houses in the river. That's how they live. There's a community from Siem Reap all the way to Battambang. We rode on a boat to Battambang, and it took us 9 hours. So we saw 9 hours worth of floating villages, and that's how the people live. They use the water for everything. And we learned that a lot of people, their life expectancy is about 35 to 40 years old, because they live on the water, they use the water for everything. They don't necessarily have appropriate health care or education. So they're very limited to living and depending on just the river for their livelihood. And so thank you for your attention, and all the photos there were taken by Mr. Samkan Kun, one of our peers on the traveling. So we thank you so much for a wonderful opportunity, and we've learned so much, and we hope that we will continue to share our experience with not just our students, but parents and community members as well. We hope to have exhibits and galleries of all of our work and our photos. So stay tuned. You'll hear more from us. So thank you so much, and thank you for having us this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Cho. Any comments, questions? Thank you for sharing the information with us under our Spotlight on Excellence. Thank you so much. Chair recognizes Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. I wonder if we could suspend the rules to accept a gift for our Lowell High School.
Motion to suspend the rules by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Leary. This is just on the motion to suspend the rules. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The vote. Thank you. Moving up on the agenda under new business, acceptance of a gift to Lowell High School. Chair recognizes Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the high school has been given a donation from 2 businesses to our athletics program, and I'd like, if it's all right, Your Honor, to ask Mr. Rosemerick to come forward and to explain the gifts at this time, and to welcome the 2 gentlemen who are here presenting the donation to be accepted by the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Dr. Scott, members of the school committee. Tonight with me are 2 members of the community who have stepped forward. They represent clubs in the area. One is Mike Sullivan, representative of the New Wave Swim Club. We have a good partnership with them. They use our swim facilities. A lot of our students are members of their club. And New Wave has come forward and has offered to fund an assistant coach for the girls' swim team. You may recall from my report to the athletic subcommittee about a month ago or so, I polled the coaches and asked them what they felt was necessary for staffing. And one of them was an assistant coach for the girls' swim team, primarily to focus on the diving and keep that part of the program alive. When they heard about it, New Wave stepped up, approached Mr. DeProfio, and they would like to offer the funding necessary to pay for that assistant coach. The second with me is Glenn Stewart, who's the president of Greater Lowell Roadrunners, and in a similar fashion, after that report that I gave the subcommittee, the coach of the cross-country team recommended that the cross-country team needed an additional assistant coach in order to safely monitor the students as they're out running, and that position was unable to be funded at the time, and Greater Lowell Roadrunners stepped forward in partnership with the Demoulas Foundation and is offering to fund an assistant coach to keep that program going. I do notice on the agenda for tonight is the motion to fully fund the athletic program. I assume that's in reference to that money that was removed at that time. I want to point out that these 2 positions are not in that packet of money. These are 2 positions that if you, I don't have that report with me tonight, but if you recall that report, the coaches of these 2 programs referred back to positions that had existed at an earlier time and they would like to have replaced. That's what these donations cover. So with that introduction, I'd like to ask the committee to gratefully accept the donations of these two organizations. Thank you, Your
Thank you
Honor.
so much. Chair recognizes Mr. Leary.
I just want to say again, thank you very much publicly. As being a member of the Greater Lowell Roadrunners, I know I look like a runner, don't I? They do a lot of training for the youth in the Greater Lowell area, not training them to run cross country, get them the aspects of the joy of running. And I know a lot less about the New Wave program, but I know they're at the high school as well, training youngsters and working with them. So I want to thank them very much. This is not a surprise. Both these groups have done a lot for the youth in the Greater Lowell area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leary. The chair, Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I have to echo those sentiments, and I think it is a testament to both your organizations to be able to make this kind of real commitment to saving something at the high school that we all recognize as valuable. And I think that, having two organizations that exist for adults to take advantage of, with the Greater Lowell Roadrunners, my colleague notwithstanding as an adult, and with the New Wave Club, which I know works with a lot of young people. I just think it's an extraordinary gesture that we are incredibly thankful for. And I don't know if either of you would like to take an opportunity to speak with us about your programs, or made it all the way down here to the hot chamber.
Right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Glenn Stewart. I'm the president of the Greater Lowell Roadrunners. There's nothing that we do in our club that gives me more pleasure than working with the youngsters. Over the summer, we work with the middle school kids over at Shed Park and some camps. As many of you know that have come to Shed Park in the fall for the middle school cross-country program, we help out there as well. Those are the highlights of my day. And it gives us great pleasure and enormous pride to be able to support the city of Lowell in making sure that middle school kids and youngsters are able to continue their running careers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving us this opportunity to speak. My name is Mike Sullivan, and I'm here to represent New Wave Swim Club. New Wave is a group of about 130 youngsters who are overseen by Corey-approved, USA Swimming certified swim coaches, staff of about 8 or 10. Our funding comes from the fees paid by the parents, as well as any fundraising that we can do. We're a not-for-profit organization. We share a long history with working with Lowell High School. Many of you might know the Riddick name in Lowell High School. What you might not know is Ray Riddick's daughter-in-law, Roseanne, actually started the New Wave Swim Club back in the late 1980s.
She was my daughter's swim coach.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad to meet a lot of our swim parents. You know what we go through. But it is our pleasure to step forward and help with funding of this position to make sure that as many of the girls on the swim team have an opportunity to get in the pool. My son swims on the boys team, and I can tell you firsthand, a lot of the people who come and swim for the high school swim team don't swim for New Wave because they cannot afford it. They literally come to Lowell High School with their swimsuit and their towel in a white market basket plastic bag. So we try to get as many kids in the pool as we can. New Wave also offers scholarship help to some of the kids who want to continue their training. So this is just another way of us trying to step forward and keep the high school programs viable. Thank you for this
Thank you
opportunity.
very, very much. Thank you. Chair recognizes Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo what my colleagues have said. I think it's a great opportunity. When you take a look at the community certainly rises to the occasion, and here's a perfect example of how individuals pool their resources and to help our kids here in the city of Lowell. So once again, I congratulate both groups for their hard work and dedication. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Conway. Anyone else? The chair would entertain a motion to accept the donation to the Lowell High School athletic program as presented by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Going back to the regular agenda, the next item would be to approve the regular school committee meeting minutes of August 18, 2010. Chair recognizes Ms. Larrabee.
Thank you, Your Honor. In reviewing the minutes, there were a couple of areas that I realized needed correction. On page 1, it was the regular school committee meeting, not a special meeting. On page 3, regarding Ms. Doherty's motion, minutes have her seconding her own motion, so that, I believe, is John Leahy.
Yes, Ms. John Leahy.
And then on page 4, anything going until next Thursday, the date listed is August 19th, and I believe that date should be August 26th.
26. Okay.
Any other comments on the minutes? Motion to accept the minutes as amended by Ms. Larrabee, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Thank you. Under permission to enter, we have no permission to enter this evening. Moving on to the memorials as a committee as a whole. The first one, Patrick J. Pat Degnan, brother of Robert Degnan, food service director, and Paula Sweeney, Lowell High School teacher, and brother-in-law of Sufan Degnan, Morey School paraprofessional. Mrs. Mary E. Peggy Tierney Connaughton, stepmother of Eilish Connaughton, Butler School principal. Joseph Andrew Guthrie Jr., retired City of Lowell building commissioner. Teresa Mary DeLuca, mother of Sue Campbell, Pawtuckettville Memorial School clerk. And the last, Louis M. Saab, a prominent and respected attorney and real estate entrepreneur. Could we please rise in a moment of silence and darken chambers?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. May they rest in peace.
Thank you. Thank you, honey. Appreciate it.
Any unfinished business this evening? No. Public participation? Motions. First motion by David Conway and James Leary, ask the superintendent of schools to fully fund the athletic program at Lowell High School. Chair recognizes Mr. Conway.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to amend this motion, if at all possible, to read as the superintendent of schools to fund up to $40,000 the athletic program at Lowell High School.
Second, to amend the motion to fund up to $40,000 to fund the athletic program at Lowell High School, seconded by Mr. Leary. Do we have any comments, questions? Mr. Conway.
The reason why I put this motion on, Mr. Mayor, was the fact that when I originally put it on to fully fund, we did not have the information coming from the federal government about the $4.8 million that was going to be coming into our school district to certainly help bring back many of the jobs that we lost, and also help to restore some of the programs. And I think that this is what sparked me to put this particular motion on. And I think that in light of the fact that we're talking about $4.8 million, which is certainly it's a lot of money, but we have made many cuts over the years, and we certainly made over $4 million cut this particular year. I think that you'll find in the athletic program, the reason why I said $40,000 is because I think to fully fund the program would be a little over $70,000. I believe it's $72,000 to $74,000. But in light of what has been going on in the last few weeks, that there is some fundraising taking place, so I certainly do not want to see that stop. I think it's important that we as a community combine forces so that we can do the best we possibly can for students. I think you'll also, I have seen it and I've said it before on the floor that somebody has been a housemaster like myself for a number of years. I certainly saw the benefits that athletics have in our schools, especially at the high school. And I think that that when I mentioned before about it was one of the very best dropout prevention programs, and I really do mean that. And I think that once we start taking a look at data, Mr. Mayor, of our dropout rate, and I believe one of the motions is referring to that tonight, I think you're going to find that the dropout rate is going to be going up in those years. Because once again, you cannot continue to cut year after year after year without having adverse effects. We have an opportunity. I think the federal government certainly recognized the fact that communities needed the help. And we're taking that $4.8 million, and we're right now trying to decide exactly how to spend that. And there's been a lot of controversy in this. But I think that, and I'm sure that we'll be talking about in more detail perhaps during this meeting, but I think that when we're talking $4.8 million, I think we're also, that $40,000 is less than 1%. And I think to restore a program, I went out to a field the other day, Mr. Mayor, and saw 74 young ladies on the field hockey field. And it was incredible. They were so enthusiastic, and I happen to think it's a great sport. And yet, when we take a look at the numbers, take a look at the number of coaches that we have, and again, we talked about safety issues in the past, but I think it's important that each and every student has that opportunity that students have had in the past, if at all possible. And again, I think that's why the federal government has identified that there is a problem, and they're bringing that forward. And I think the government is expecting us to spend perhaps not all that money, perhaps half that money, as I mentioned before, or some of the money, again, to restore some of the programs. So I can understand the controversy here, and I certainly can understand how individuals might not approve this motion, but I would certainly hope that we have an open mind and truly consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conway. Ms. Larraba?
Thank you. I understand where Mr. Conway's coming from. It's certainly with the best of intentions, and certainly I feel incredibly bad that we've cut anywhere, not just athletics, but anywhere across the board. But I've stated before, and I have to state again, I can't hold athletics harmless when we've lost teachers, when we've lost other programs. And I realize that most people will see the $4.8 million as a big bonanza, but we're looking at a $9.5 million hole next year, and while I understand that this amount that Mr. Conway is requesting is less than 1% or 1% of that, $9.5 million is a big number. So I have the greatest amount of respect for what he's trying to do, and one of the things that he said is if at all possible, and my stance right now is that we don't have the funds to make that possible. We need to hold that money for next year when we're facing $9.5 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. I'm going to support the motion. I fully understand the devastation that we've done to the school system this year. But I can't, we're not restoring it to its full capacity, and to ask for this amount of money to get coaches back out on the field with these kids this is such a small request. And as my colleague stated, this affects the dropout rate. It affects our students' lives, and if you can help one student, you've changed a life. And for us to sit here and say we don't have the money, you can't say that anymore. We have a bill in front of us, and I know everybody has their own opinion. A1 says this this program was created to save money for this year. That's what the money's here for. It should be spent at our discretion, but some of it should be spent. You get down to A5 on the first page, it says any available funds can be used in the next year. They're giving us they're giving us a choice, but the intent was to spend money, and we're not asking for a lot of money. We're advocating for this tonight in this motion. I'm going to advocate later for more positions. The money is available. It's available for this year. If you call up your local congresswoman, she'll tell you the bill was created to help this year. I understand next year is going to be just as devastating, but next year's next year. We have a whole year to work on some creative alternatives, and it's not the end of the world, but it will make a big difference in the lives of these children this year, and we should spend this small amount of money. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary?
I think everybody knows where I stand with this motion. I'm going to support it. I'm going to speak at a lot more length when we get into the finance section of the whole issue. I am very thankful that we did add $175,000 back into the budget. So we did take initiative. So it's not like we didn't take initiative and spend money. I just think it's not a bad motion, and I'm going to support it. I will have a full detailed outline when we get to the finance part regarding the 4.8 stimulus, and we can go from there at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm not going to support this motion, as I haven't supported it in the recent past in its many varied iterations. And without repeating what's already been said by my colleague to the left regarding why I'm not going to support it, one piece is the substantive cuts the district has suffered across the board that have had immediate and extensive impact on students. But the other point that I think hasn't been mentioned here tonight is that we know our data shows us that our athletics staff are paid above industry standards. We didn't receive any concessions from our staff about trying to come in line with the severe fiscal crisis that we're facing and trying to maintain services for kids. My sense is that to just keep throwing money at these programs, that when we can't afford that, and I know that's up for debate, whether we can spend today and worry about paying the bills later, I think weakens our whole negotiating strategy. That we need to, first of all, stand firm. We originally, the proposal was to cut $249,000 from athletics. We put $175,000 back into athletics. I think that's been very generous, considering we've wiped out all the librarians. We don't have computer teachers. We eliminated, 25 paraprofessionals at the elementary. It goes on and on and on. That's not even counting the $8 million we cut for 2010. But the point is, we need to stand firm. We need to have a strategy that looks at how can we deliver our athletic services more efficiently, and look at savings that way. And also look to our staff to make concessions that are going to be meaningful for kids, that are fair within the industry. So I really think this weakens our position in a number of fronts, and I'm not going to support it. And I would hope that, at least for this particular issue, this is the last time we're going to see this for this round anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doherty. Anyone else on the motion, as amended? Ms. Larrabee, then Mr. Conway.
Just as a follow-up, it starts with the 40,000 request for athletics, and then, well, what about bringing the librarians back, and what about bringing the computer instruction people back? We're looking at $9.5 million next year. We had a conversation in a finance subcommittee last night, and one of the motions was to recommend to us as a body to hold that money, that 4.8 money, aside for next year. So, we're kind of flipping on ourselves there, that in one conversation we've decided to hold it, and now we're chipping away at it a little bit. I made this comment last night, and I'll make it again. As a single parent, I cannot base my household budget and paying my mortgage on what might come. I have to use what I know for facts. I know for fact, God willing, I don't lose my job, I know for a fact how much money I'm bringing in the house. I know what I can save in different areas, and if I have to cut something, then I have to cut something. But I can't sit there and say, well, maybe the federal government will, throw me $1,000 and I can do something here now and worry about paying the piper later. We need to worry about that now. We've got $9.5 million coming straight at us, and while I understand that for the last 20 years the federal government has come through unless that money is in our hand, I do not feel comfortable spending it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conway?
Mr. Mayor, just very briefly, I just want to reiterate the fact that, we are talking about less than 1%. And by the way, this happens to be just one motion. Obviously, there are cuts that have been made that are devastating, and there's no doubt about that. And I certainly hope that we restore many of those positions that were cut. Teaching positions, librarians, teachers' aides. We have received $4.8 million. There's a reason that the federal government gave the money. They gave the money because they know we had a problem. They know that they just didn't give us the money for the sake of taking it and putting it in some safe. We've already seen the results of that, Mr. Mayor, when the federal government gave the banks the money and they put it away and stored it. Consequently, what happened to the economy? It did not generate success. Let's not make the same mistake, obviously on a smaller scale, but this affects us. It affects our community. It affects our kids. And I think we owe it to them to take a portion of this money. And again, I'm just talking about in this particular item, we're talking $40,000 athletics, but we have to go in even deeper and start talking eventually about that $4.8 million. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Roll call.
Mr. Conway,
Yes.
Miss Doherty,
No.
Miss Larrabee,
No?
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Miss Martin,
No.
Mayor Milanazzo.
No.
3 yeas, 4 nays, it's defeated. Motion as amended defeated.
Next motion by Ms. Doherty, request the superintendent update the committee about students being non-membered due to poor attendance using data collected on the student attendance review form over the academic years 2007 to 2008 and 2008 to 2009. Based on information required on the form, the report should include how many students were non-membered, what interventions were used with students prior to non-membering, the number of personal contacts, phone meetings with parents prior to non-membering, and what percentage of dropouts are comprised of non-membered students. Second by Ms. Martin. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. Last March, I had a motion asking for a report about our dropout rates because we saw from the year ending 2008 to the year ending 2009, our rates doubled according to the state DOE. What I'm looking to do with this was back when I first got on the committee. It might have been 4 years ago. We created this form because it came to the committee's attention that we didn't have documentation for many of our students who were being non-membered primarily due to poor attendance. And so the form was a way to provide a system to make sure there were a number of steps that were followed through before a student was non-member from the high school. And one of those steps included interaction with parents, in fact, even a signature. So in my conversations with Assistant Superintendent Ann Murphy about the dropout report that the administration is preparing for us, the discussion went around this form. And was there more information we could get? And I guess my intention is multifaceted. On one level, of course, we're trying to figure out, are there reasons our dropout rate doubled? Was there a reporting error that perhaps it isn't, as some are now telling me, that maybe the data is not completely accurate? We need to look carefully at what the data is telling us, but also to try to pinpoint what interventions have had the most impact on keeping our students in school. Because as we continue to look at limited funds, we need to be very strategic about where we put our energy and efforts in terms of, keeping our students engaged and in school. So that's the intent with the motion, to kind of update the committee on the information we've gleaned since creating this report, this form, and the process for reporting the information. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. I don't know who to address this to you, the superintendent, or the maker of the motion. Do we have this report yet, or it's in process of being done?
Madam Superintendent.
We do track all this information, and actually, Lowell Public Schools has been part of a statewide initiative to address the dropout rate, and we have presented at other times to the committee a report, but we will follow up with another one.
All right. So we have got the report, or we will get it? We have the data?
Mr. Hardy.
Just if I could clarify that, we have been tracking dropout data as required by the state. This particular form that the school committee, working with administrators at the high school, developed, like I said, back 4 years ago. Part of the reasoning behind the update, in addition to looking more closely at some of this data, is to see if the form is actually even necessary anymore. Now that we've also gone to X2, our student database, there might be other ways that we're doing it. So my hope is that we'll get more information by using this as a starting point to update the committee on information we have been gathering anyway.
Could you just clarify, like, what's the information that we're looking to get that's going to tell us why kids are dropping out? Is that what the report's going to do?
Well, if you look at the specifics of the data we're collecting on the report, they should be able to tell us right up front how many kids were non-membered last year, let's say, well, we're looking at 2 specific years, 08 and 09. So we're looking to find out how many were non-members, what interventions did we call? Because this form requires that whatever interventions happened are documented. Did you meet with the parents? So, because prior to establishing this form, we didn't have a clear record of documentation. We would just get, numbers without knowing what interventions had been applied. So I think the specifics that I talk about in the motion are what we're going to be able to pull out of that form.
All right, I just have one comment. This isn't really clear to me, but I mean, I can tell you from sitting here for 8 years that the biggest prevention rate for dropout is the child's involvement in the school, with his teacher, with his coaches, with the principal. I mean, that's what we should be looking at. And this all ties in because we're cutting and cutting and cutting year after year. So it all correlates to that money we got, and we should be hiring people, and we're going to keep kids in school. It's as simple as that.
Mr. Conway.
Just for clarification here, let's see if I understand this correctly through you, Mr. Mayor, to the superintendent. We already have this information, is that correct?
Yes, we track all of this information, and we're going to bring it forward to the committee in a report so that they have the information as well in an updated fashion.
And if I recall, when this information is compiled, the administration sits down and then analyzes the information to find out, for example, at the beginning of the year, it's a scramble for administrators. This is what made me a little nervous about the motion. Not that I'm going to back it up and I'm going to vote for it, but at the beginning of the year, this is the scramble for administrators, guidance counselors, clerks, teachers, the entire staff are trying to, should we say, find the students. It might be people that have never worked in the schools might find that a little odd, but when you take a look at the roster, there'll be a number of students that haven't shown up. And it's the job then to go and find out, where are these students? Some of them have transferred out of district, out of the state. Some students have gone to private schools. Some students are just being truant. And there's a whole variety of different reasons. And it does take a long time to whittle that number down. But I think what my colleague, Mr. Leahy, said is absolutely correct, that all the interventions that we've had help to keep this number of dropouts down. And what's happening right now is that we are seeing the results And I think we have to take a good look at it. We are seeing the results of the cuts that have been made in education over the last few years. And that's why we have to, I think, prioritize. We have to take a look and say to ourselves as a community, we need an educated group for our community to succeed. And we need to invest in our schools. And I think that, again, it will be I think it'll be a very telling report when we compile all this. But I think once we get the report, I'd also like to know, what are we going to do with the report? A lot of times we ask for a report, and we pass it, and it might pass 7-0, and then all of a sudden we don't hear about it. I'd like to know, what are we going to do with the report? How are we going to act on this report once we get it? Thank you.
Ms. Doherty?
Would you like me to address that? Because I think that it's worth
Okay.
putting
You
out
have the
there.
floor.
As I mentioned, historically, this form was created because we discovered that students were being non-membered without documentation. They were being told, you haven't been to school for 20 days, and so when we asked for a report, we got a number with no paperwork. So we created this form, which my understanding from discussions I had, and perhaps my colleague would recall when this form was created because you were a housemaster at the time, but my conversations with a current housemaster and the discipline operations specialist at the high school is that this data has been collected since the form and the process were created. We should be able to look at it without too much difficulty and be able to make some assessments in terms of, is the form currently needed the way it is being used, or are we now moved on to total X2 reliance for the information? And more importantly, how effective is the resources we've been putting into dropout prevention issues, such as things that we have had to cut. We did make cuts last year. I don't believe the police are visiting homes anymore. But that wouldn't have impacted the dropout rates from last year because we made the cuts in June, so that's impacting the current school year. So we need to kind of go back and look at the data, but my idea is to try to figure out, in terms of how we use the data, what are our most important interventions to keep in place. And so that when we make decisions about spending, we have all the information available to make the most intelligent decisions. So my understanding from my conversations with people at the high school, it's not going to be a huge effort to get the data based on the way it's been collected for the last 4 or 5 years and the additional support from the state requirements about collecting this data, and that hopefully we'll get a better understanding of how we're spending the money so we can spend it more effectively.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Thank you. Moving on to subcommittee reports. We have a finance subcommittee report and approval of the meeting minutes of August 31st, 2010. Chair recognizes Mr. Leary.
Thank you, Mayor. It was a meeting that was conducted at 7 p.m. yesterday, lasted about 2.5, almost 3 hours. In attendance was everyone on the school committee, the mayor, the superintendent, assistant superintendent of finance, Jay Lang, deputy superintendent Gene Franco, and assistant superintendent Ann Murphy. In addition, we had the chief financial officer of the city, Tom Moses, in attendance, and various folks that came in to attend. It was a long meeting, and this report is going to be long. What I'm going to try to do is touch base first on the financial issues that many of us have alluded to and have directly discussed. As we all know, there is stimulus in the amount of $4.8 million from the federal government passed through the state. The formula is actually more complicated than that. I'm not going to get into that at that point in time unless someone has specific questions regarding it, but the bottom line number that we have available at this point in time is $4.8 million. The reality is next year we're facing, as we all are aware, a very serious another deficit. What the breakout of the deficit is twofold. The first part of it is direct called ERA budget offsets. These are the stimulus funds that have come in place from the federal government over the past 2 years. What we're anticipate losing in ERA funds equals $6,455,823, or $6.5 million. That is predominantly actual positions of individuals that work as paraprofessionals, teachers, et cetera. There's no custodians in that or food service workers. I don't think there's administrators in that as well, other than maybe some special ed administrators. Of that funds of $6.5 million, $500,000 approximately are non-employee funds. So most of this is directly paying for our folks that work and serve direct student services. There's a lot of questions regarding that number. I think it's pretty much, unfortunately, a reality, but we'll look into it and drill down further as we go up through the next coming months. The second portion of the budget issue, as has been discussed, is approximately a rounded number of $3 million, which is rollover costs from the preceding year. That number is subject to change, positive or negative. So if you take, it compromises health insurance, step and lane changes, special education tuition, meaning outplacement tuition, which is an ongoing increase across the nation, and non-employee contractual increases. So the best guess at this point, that equals $3 million. It could be more, it could be slightly less, depending on numbers of folks moving into different categories, et cetera. So the rounded estimate deficit as of last night for the school department for next year's budget equals $9.5 million. Now that number can be decreased depending on certain moves that can be made or certain factors that change. It can increase. I know we sit here every year saying the numbers are X amount of dollars. As we go through the budget, we anticipate X amount to be cut, et cetera. This is a working number. Hopefully it will become less. But the reality is, at this time's information, this is the best number that we have. The key flag, I guess, is that there is going to be a deficit next year. That was, I guess, the basis of most of the discussion that we had last night. That's just the factual part of it. I have a lot of strong opinions on different issues, but I guess the best way to get into it is really what the administration has recommended thus far regarding the $4.8 million stimulus, our extra package of money from the federal government. What they're recommending at this point in time is simply to roll it over and hold it for next year because the deficit is significant. They are proposing using $360,228, or did propose to use $360,228 from the suspense account monies coming that was left over from the end of the year to pay for certain positions that we need. So it wasn't part of the stimulus. I know comments have been made, with great respect, the comments have been made that the federal government put this money forward for us to save jobs for this year specifically. And specifically within their law or within their bill, Mr. Leahy articulated, quite frankly, what the law was about. In fairness, I'm not sure if most of the legislators in the federal government are cognizant of the fact that we're sitting on a potential $9.5 million hole next year. Although some of them might be cognizant of that because they did say you could spend the money within 2 years, not just 1 year. So there was a lot of dialogue at the meeting regarding should we spend some, should we spend none of it, and overall the Finance Committee did take a vote. Ms. Doherty and myself voted in the affirmative to take the $4.8 million and roll it over or hold it in suspense at this point in time, with Mr. Leahy abstaining at that point. And that's a recommendation we're going to make going forward. The other issue, I guess, of importance was looking at the recommendation actions for consideration from the superintendent, the $360,000. Every member in attendance had some type of discussion regarding the proposed Director of Educational Technologies and Media position, equaling $92,232. Some were in favor, some were extremely opposed, but there were some concerns regarding how the position would be implemented, how effective it would be, et cetera. What the Finance Committee decided to do is not take that up at this point in time and requested additional information from the administration. What the Finance Committee did elect to do was to fund or make recommendations to the full committee to fund the two other positions, there are more than 2 other positions, but 5 other positions recommended by the superintendent. The first was the computer and repair technician, 3 positions at $150,000. Paraprofessional positions for our newcomers program for a lot of the students coming into the district. Our students are increasing this year, not going down, for $35,746. And the fringe benefits or medical benefits to support that staff at $82,250. That portion was recommended by the Finance Committee unanimously to bring before the full committee for consideration. Being that last night, there's another motion that Mr. Leahy and I had put forward regarding developing a hybrid library and media technology position. That refers back to the recommendation from the administration for the Director of Educational Technologies position that we asked to hold. The argument that Mr. Leahy, and I'm sure Mr. Leahy will get into it more in depth, we're making at that point really was, we want the library media specialist to be involved with literacy as well as technical issues. And we wanted to see if we could find a program or plan to spend the money on that area so you could have more benefit than just a computer technician working on fixing printers and computer issues. My understanding, not being a technical individual, too technical individual, that for major hardware issues or software issues, we are farming that out to a vendor. The positions that we're allocating are day-to-day issues that, fixing the printer, that type of staffing issues, where we're actually looking for those positions. I supported this last night myself in terms of getting those positions. And at this point, I've been thinking over the night and talking to a few of the members, but not all of the members, and really thinking that maybe we should hold on that at this point in time. Although I will bring in, at the end of the motion, these things for consideration. And I'd like to explain myself and listen to dialogue from the rest of the committee. What I really would like to do at this point is really take a look at, again, looking at the hybrid position, utilizing the $92,232 and the $150,000 for, I believe it was the total of $242,000 to look at funding some new positions in a hybrid capacity that would still have the computer technology technician issues that the administration correctly believes we need, and looking to use the library and media skills as in form of helping us with our literacy. I think the public, what I like to illustrate to the public is a library and media technician position is not just an old-fashioned librarian, here's your book, check it out, you pay it. That's not what our librarians are. Our librarians are technical experts. The hybrid position defined, if we could work on this for an additional couple of weeks, would be defined to continue those skill sets and take the computer technician skill sets. My comments regarding the $4.8 million stimulus, I believe almost 100% of it should be rolled over. The $9.5 million should not be neglected. If it's not $9.5 million, if it's $7.5 million, it's still a significant sum of money, and the city doesn't have it, the state isn't going to have it. With all respect to the Congresswoman or anybody else, I thank them for the money, but the reality is we got a significant hole to look at, whatever that number is at the end of next year. I do believe some monies could be spent. I think we'll talk about Mr. Conway and I in a motion about $40,000 for sports. That does have a direct impact on student services, which those are our customers. Those are the number one issue we look at. We don't look at the school committee, we don't look at the administrators, students first. Just my editorializing, and I'm sure everybody else will have other comments on it. If we took some of the money, I don't know, $200,000, $100,000, depending on the program or plan from the administration, to fund appropriately some of these hybrid positions that would have a bigger effect, I think that would be positive. I don't claim to have all the answers. When Mr. Leahy and I drew this motion up, we envisioned a hybrid out of central office that would be able to strategically work in areas where literacy function was not adequate. I don't subscribe to the motion that we should be spending all the money this year, or even like 95% of the money, or even, I think we should be spending something like 5% or less money this year.
Mr. Leary, I'm going to have to ask you to stay to the topic.
Well, the topic that is sort of the topic, Mayor. I guess I'm going to end it now, but basically, that's my thinking. I guess it's my editorializing. I think it is, well, it is the topic. It's $4.8 million stimulus.
No, the topic is the approval of the minutes from the meeting last night, which were before us. You're getting off topic as far as...
Well, I guess I'll agree with you now. I'll end it at this point, but I guess we have two motions to consider. One of them, I'm obviously changing my opinion on, but we can let the other members have at this point their say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to be heard on the minutes? Mr. Leahy?
Could I just ask for a clarification? We're going to discuss the minutes, and then we're going to get into what we talked about.
Under the superintendent's part of the budget, we do have the education job funds report.
All right,
So
that's
we can
where
talk
we
about
get
it
into
then.
that.
But what we have before us now are the minutes from the finance subcommittee from last night, which do require a roll call vote because it deals with monies.
Okay, so can I just make my comments
Yes,
on the minutes then?
yes.
So my comments would be that when I went into the meeting, I was expecting to spend some of that $4.8 million. My suggestions at the meeting were to bring back some library media specialists, and give the elementary schools some money. A suggestion would have been $70,000 each. They could bring back a reading teacher, how many number of tutors, 2 parents, whatever they needed, because before the meeting, I did think I had all the answers. I don't. I let them make their choice for their schools. So I was looking to spend that money last night, not all of it, maybe 35, 40% of it. The other comment on the meeting I wanted to make was that when I had saw the recommendations, I just was kind of just in awe, because I thought that I had made myself clear with this hybrid library aide / computer tech person position. We don't want, I don't want another high-level job. I want many jobs at the entry level for school teachers, direct impact with students. That's what I was looking at. To be quite honest, I'm stubborn about this. I don't see the problem. You sit down in a room, you talk about it. Either you're going to do it or you don't do it. It doesn't have to be that complicated. These people want their jobs. We don't have a need. We can't afford 2 positions. You combine the 2 that have a value on the school system. And the other comment I wanted to make was just that, I guess, yes, I voted against the motion, then I had to leave, but I would not support adding any of those positions unless we touch some of the money from the stimulus. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conway?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a
Excuse me,
comment.
Mr. Conway, Ms. Larraba had her hand up before. I apologize, Ms. Larraba.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Mr. Conway. I'm a little confused here. I thought our initial conversation was just to reiterate what happened at the meeting and not editorialize specific positions. I thought we were supposed to report on the meeting and then take up the 2 motions, and at that time, editorialize our positions. We're kind of going around and around with the same conversations. And I understand everybody's frustration. I think we need to deal with the motions that are already being recommended. And if somebody wants to try to amend them when that motion is up, then that's what we do. But, part of the conversation last night, and let me just touch on this director position, was that person would be in charge of not just the computer technicians, but the library aides and coordinating all that service. There's been some discontent about what those positions are supposed to be. We're day 2 into the school year. We don't even know if this is working or not working, and we're already saying, let's cut it out. And I understand Mr. Leahy's comment that he doesn't want to put another high-level function, and that's probably more of a conversation, but we're getting stuck on trying to bring a number of people, and the conversation last night was, we don't have the money to do that. That for the number of positions we would need at this point, for those hybrid positions, we do not have the money, which then goes around to the 4.8 that we want to leave for next year, which then goes around to, we're supposed to be bringing jobs back. We can go around and around this like a dog chasing its tail, but the fact of the matter is, we don't have the money in this year. We've got 4.8 because we have a 9.5 million deficit staring us in the face. My understanding from the conversation last night was that the superintendent and the assistant superintendent would go ahead and flesh out the job description a little bit better, would work on trying to come up with a little more scenario with the hybrid position, and then present that to us in the future. Just saying we want this position and let's fund it right now without knowing what those positions are is not something I feel comfortable with. So I with all due respect to my fellow members, could we have the discussion on one part? Because if the motion passes that we hold that money, 4.9, that takes away a big part of the conversation about some of these positions. We're putting the cart before the horse. Let's have the conversation about the 4.8 million, decide what we're doing with it, and then move forward from that with the next motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conway, and again, I apologize, Mr. Conway.
Oh, that's fine, Mr. Mayor. I totally understand. I think that, I think it's important that, which I've often said before, to put all our ideas and comments on the table. This is obviously, as we've talked about, very difficult financial times, but also complicated times. You know, we were faced with, this year, we weren't sure how many millions of dollars we had to cut, and we ended up cutting over $4 million. The Finance Subcommittee, which I congratulate the Finance Subcommittee, meeting time and time again, scrutinizing over the budget, and to find out what needed to be cut, and to bring that forward. And then all of a sudden, the federal government comes up with $4.8 million. After we've laid off all these teachers and administrators and aides and librarians and so forth. So the bottom line is it's confusing and it's frustrating. And I think that that's what we're hearing tonight. And I think that's all right, because I think the more we discuss this, I think what we can end up doing is purifying the system. Now, to get back to the meeting of last night, there's a couple things that bothered me, and that is the fact when I saw the recommendation for consideration, the Director of Educational Technologies and Media. I just find it, I truthfully find it appalling that would be brought forward for $92,232 after we just laid off dozens and dozens and dozens of employees. We just devastated many of the programs, and we were thinking about putting in a $92,000 job with the benefits and so forth, which probably brings it up to $110,000 or $115,000. I have no idea why that would be brought forward. It makes absolutely no sense to me at all. As far as the $4.8 million is concerned, I hear the comment constantly, and that's part of the report, and I'll be very brief with it. The fact is, it's money that we don't have. Well, it's money that we do have. It's money that has been put on the table by the federal government, and I think we have to take a look at it. I think we also, again, I happen to disagree with my colleagues, and I suppose it's not the first time, it won't be the last time, but to take that money and put it for next year, basically we're telling the federal government, we didn't need the money this year. We didn't need it. We'll worry about that next year. I mean, what about all those employees that have been laid off? What about the kids that, I took a look at one of the schools today, and the average kids, I saw 28, 30, 31 kids in a classroom in a 5th and 6th grade. These numbers are creeping up, Mr. Mayor, and I don't want them to go any higher. And again, I think that what we have to do is we obviously have to be prudent, but we have to take a good look and realize that the monies are there and we should spend it wisely. But we should take a look at it, not just take it and hoard it away for next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty?
I'd like to say I think we should focus on the 4.8 million, because I think that, as my colleague said, that once we make a decision what we're going to do with that, that's going to impact whatever positions we're ever able to bring back. In terms of, feeling this pressure that, we've got this money, let's spend it. Of course, we'd like to bring all the positions back. I'd like to bring back the 10% of the staff. I've watched this committee cut before I even got on board. Since 2003, 2002, they've just been cutting positions. But one thing that is the stickler for me, because you say, okay, you buy another year. You buy another year with librarians. You buy another year with paras at the elementary school. If we had to eliminate them, lay them off again in June, at least you bought another year. And as all of us with children in the school, you get one shot at 5th grade. You want it to be the best experience it can be for that child. But it's not that simple. We don't just buy another year. If we bring back these positions, our hole gets deeper, because then we don't have the $4.8 million to try to fill in that deficit. And on top of laying off those people, then we've got the costs that get associated with that, and we have to go even deeper because we spent the 4.8. And honestly, I can't see that scenario. We cut $4 million this year, $8 million last year. I don't know what that would do. And as my colleague mentioned in the beginning of these discussions tonight, you've got to work with the reality that's in front of you. You can't spend hoping that there's going to be another balloon from the federal government. And my experience is this federal government bailout stuff is unprecedented. We, as a school system, have been educating our children since ed reform on the backs of the state of Massachusetts. That's how we've gotten our funding. It's only because of this fiscal crisis that the federal government has stepped up. And I just don't have confidence that that is an empty pot. And if I could sit here and vote to bring back all those positions and know that we wouldn't be severely harming the students next year, those same students, that's our responsibility to educate, then maybe I'd consider spending some of that $4.8 million. But what we're really talking about is if we spend it now, even half of it, even $1 million of it, we're going to be paying more in 10 months. And the harm is going to be that much more devastating. So I think just for purposes of what we're going to do, I would recommend that we move forward. The motion by the Finance Subcommittee last night was to recommend to the body as a whole. I made that motion. If my colleague wants to change his second, I'd be open to another second. But I would like to move forward the recommendation the subcommittee made last night that we put that $4.8 million and hold that money for fiscal year 2012.
Motion by Ms. Doherty. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Leary. Mr. Leary, then Mr. Leahy.
Well, Ms. Martin hasn't spoke yet, so I apologize. I was out of motions. I was just trying to coordinate it in a way that would be most effective. I supported the motion last night because it makes sense. You're talking $9.5 million. No way around it. In the paper today, Chelmsford had their stimulus money and rolled it over because they're facing the same situation. I mean, the reality is it's a lot of money no matter how you cut it, slice or dice it. So I'm going to support the motion. I think the issue, though, is in the other motion, what I can't talk about at this point in time, I don't believe in being stagnant on issues. I rethink things because sometimes I think something better than the night before. So if I think something's going to be improved the morning after, if things get to things get to change at that point in time. So just because we had a conversation yesterday doesn't mean I can't find something to improve it the next day. So I am going to support it because as of tonight, it doesn't make any sense not to do it. In fact, it makes 110% sense to do it. And I'll leave it at that. I think there's enough said. Thank you.
Mr. Leahy, then Ms. Martin.
Thank you. Speaking on just the motion then, that's before us. Again, I was speaking to someone today and they said, look what Chelmsford did. So I read the article. Chelmsford didn't lay anybody off last year. They rolled over $600,000. We have $4.8 million. It says in this document to use it this year. And I mean, I know we have discretion to use some of it next year, but to be afraid to spend it all this year, and I respect everybody here, but I just think it's wrong. The money was given to us to spend this year to bring back people that were laid off, to save and create education jobs this school year. Who knows what next year and the year after and the year after and the year after is going to bring? You cannot say we don't have the money. We have the money. You can say, I'd rather not spend it this year. That's fair. But don't say I don't have the money. The money's there. It's to be spent to help these kids. And as people had said, you have 1 5th grade, 1 6th grade, 1 7th grade, 1 8th grade. What if something comes up next year and we hold back again? These kids deserve the best education they can get every single year, and that's it. We'll deal with next year. Not saying that we're not going to plan for it. We have all year to work with our unions, to work with our finance person, to work with our superintendent, to work with our city manager. These kids need these services, and I'm not saying to spend it all. I want to spend about 1.6 of it. I don't even know if that's 35%. They need it this year, and really, for us to say we need to be cautious, we're not doing the kids a service. It's not about us. It's about the kids, and it's about their school year. And if they can have that much more of a better, if they can have a better year because one more teacher is brought back. I mean, I see it every day. These kids tell you, that was a good teacher. It's too bad she's gone. Too bad she retired. Too bad she moved on. You don't think you have influence, but you do. These kids look up to us. The simplest things are going to keep them in school. And I just really strongly disagree that we're not going to spend any of this money this year. I think it's a shame. We're not being foolish by spending a little bit of it. We're saving some jobs. Every year we cut and cut. 2 years ago was the worst. We cut the $8 million. This year we held together as a committee. We held together as a city, and we said we're not cutting anymore. And we did it. And we'll do it again next year. But you really have to consider, and you really need to consider spending this money. Thank you.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think we're in a certainly difficult place for all of us, and I think we all, to Mr. Leahy's point, I can say without question that every member of this committee cares about the kids, not just the ones who want to spend money. I think that every member of this committee has worked extremely hard during a number of budget cycles now to try and make the most thoughtful and well-considered cuts as we could possibly do. And I know that for myself and for every person sitting here, it has been a arduous and painful process. There is not a single cut that has been made that is not chilling in these last 2 years, because we are not a district that had any great depth. We have become a district that is hanging on by the skin of our teeth, and every cut we make now is so to the bone that it's just, you know, it's a frightening place to be. I look at where we are now, and I think what next year looks like when we have to cut $9.5 million. The idea that the federal government is going to come to our aid, I think, is wishful thinking, and I can't foresee basing a budget or basing a significant budgetary decision on that. It is our responsibility to educate the children who are in first, second, fifth, whatever grade, to educate them this year, next year, and throughout their careers here at Lowell Public Schools. And it is childish for us to make these decisions in a vacuum, hoping that someone, I mean, the man on the white knight is on the white horse is going to come and somehow save us next year. To my colleagues' comment that they come through every year, they don't. It has been unprecedented to have seen the stimulus funding we saw in the last 2 years, which saved us without question, was unprecedented. This $4.8 million is something that has never been heard of, never. It's the largest amount of federal funding that this district has ever seen in its history. And there is, in my mind, certainly from what I've heard from our own local representatives in Congress and on a national front, the will to support these types of efforts is waning. You know, every poll data I've heard has been all about how people don't support another stimulus bill, how nationwide there's this backlash against stimulus. I think that we have to recognize that the six of us, the group of us here in this chamber, sure, we realize what stimulus funding did, and we know how well it was used, but that is not a sentiment that's shared across the country. And to expect the federal government to be able to garner this kind of effort again a year later, I just don't think is realistic. It is a troubling time to serve here, knowing that every vote we take dismantles something else of value. None of us have, enjoy it, and to go through this process is painful, and it's not the reason any one of us ran to serve in these positions, because it really is a destructive time in our district. And I honestly look at what next year looks like and have never seen anything like it. And anything we can do to protect ourselves, most importantly, to protect the quality of education in this district, I think we have to do. I think it is a difficult and certainly unpopular decision to make. I have learned that personally in the last couple days. But unfortunately, I have to do what I think is best for this district in the long run. And bringing, going on a path of just bringing back positions, and when we know that there is no reasonable plan to keep these people in place. And we can't make any promises. So I just think that, it's the time when good governance mandates that we be realistic about our prospects, we remember who we truly serve, and remember that the students who are here this year, the bulk of them are here next year, and our responsibility to them remains. Thank you.
Mr. Conway.
Just very quickly, Mr. Mayor, I think that nobody sitting here is making a decision or working in a vacuum. I think each and every individual that makes a vote, in their mind, it's the best vote, and it's the best thing for the children, it's the best thing for the school department and for the city. Even though we might disagree with each other, it doesn't mean that somebody all of a sudden is 100% or 110% correct on doing it this way, and that, when we're dealing with lives and we're dealing with money and problems like this, I don't think sarcasm is something that's appropriate either. I think that what we have to do is take a look and, again, respect each other's opinion. And when I take a look at this $4.8 million, the federal government gave this to the city of Lowell, to the taxpayers. It's basically telling the taxpayers, to the citizens of Lowell, to the children, that this money is needed. We know it's needed to help you out. And, by the way, if you want to save some of it for the following year, then fine, so be it. So I could not support taking the $4.8 million and hoarding it away until next year. I think that the prudent thing to do, and again, my colleagues might disagree with me, and that's fine, I understand that, but to spend half of it and put half away for next year, and that other half can bring back, not everyone, it's not going to bring back everyone, it's not going to restore all the programs and put all the teachers back in their classrooms and so forth, but the fact is, it certainly will help give that education to the kids that we need. And that need it. And I understand maybe not taking that $4.8 million and throwing it at the budget right now. And again, going back, and I know that some of you people, obviously most of you people on this board have been here a lot longer than I have. But as far as being in the system, I've seen these cuts. I know. I get laid off myself numerous years in a row. We've gone through this for decades and decades, and it's very frustrating to everyone involved. But I think that, again, the prudent thing to do, as far as I'm concerned, would be to save half of it for next year and spend half of it this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call.
Mr. Conway.
Could you clarify the motion, please?
Motion by Mr. Artie, second by Mr. Leary, is to offset to defer the use of the additional $4.8 million of the Federal Education Jobs Funds to offset the anticipated FY 2012 budget.
No.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
No.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Yes.
5 yeas, 2 nays, passes.
Yeah, Mayor.
Yes,
The
Mr.
second, if I continue, the second motion was made by Jackie Doherty, and second by myself, to accept the superintendent's recommendations to appropriate $150,000 in funds to provide for 3 computer repair technicians, $35,746 to provide for 2 newcomer paraprofessional positions, and $58,750 to provide fringe benefits for the above described 5 positions. Total funds recommended for appropriation at this time equals $244,496. It was approved unanimously. I make that as, I guess, as a form as a motion, and looking for a second.
Second by Mr. Conway. Any further discussion on the
Yeah,
vote?
I guess, and this is where I was confused, and I apologize, I'm looking for some parliamentary assistance on it. What I was discussing earlier was Mr. Leahy and I had a hybrid position issue. We put a request in, and we did come up with some recommendations. I believe the committee disagreed with those recommendations. And last night, because there is a need for technicians, I agreed to support adding for 3 positions, which it does make sense. But what I don't know if I can't substitute my own motion or amend my own motion. I guess that's what I'm looking for. But here's what I'm going to end up voting no on my own motion. What I'd like to do is actually hold that $150,000 and just not spend it tonight. I'm going to be putting another motion in forward for next meeting that's basically going to clarify what I was thinking about when Mr. Leahy and I were talking about the hybrid position. And I'm going to clarify specifically where the funding would come from. And my ideas would be that part of the funding would come from the $92,000 recommendation that we didn't consider tonight, plus the $150,000 tonight, for a total of $242,000. And again, I'm doing this backwards, and I apologize. I'm not sure how to do it correctly, but my goal would be to support the paraprofessional positions, but not to support the computer tech positions tonight, pending another motion that I'd like to bring forward in the following meeting. So I don't know how I don't know if I could amend my motion, if they could.
Well, again, the motion from last night was to recommend to the full committee.
Yep.
So I think we'd have to deal with that and then
Sure.
go back and.
Thank you.
Mr. Conway.
Mr. Mayor, just a question on that. With the fringe benefits at $82,250, would that change? Because I think that would have something to do with the fact of having all the.
Right, that number now has changed based upon the fact that last night
Okay.
we realized
So excuse me a second.
there were 2 paraprofessionals last night instead of 3.
Right. I understand that, but is it also including the Director of Educational Technology as part of the fringe benefits, or is that excluded out of it?
The fringe benefits now are at $58,750
Okay.
for 5 positions.
Okay.
So it does not include that. It does.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else on the motion? Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. So, Your Honor, we're going to deal with this motion first and then deal
And
with
then based upon the fact that we did discuss, as Mr. Leary indicated last night, the hybrid, the fact that we haven't approved the minutes, I will give my colleagues an opportunity to, maybe a little leeway, to talk about what Mr. Leary wants to bring forward, based upon the fact that in the minutes, there was some discussion about that.
All right, so I'm not going to support this because of the computer repair technician part of it. Unfortunately, I support the paras, but I can't vote for the whole motion.
Okay. Ms. Doherty.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you, I have a question to the administration. If we didn't make a decision about the computer repair technicians, I mean, would that cause some kind of problem to give it another couple of weeks? I mean, I feel strongly that we need the computer support in our schools, but I'm open to hearing a future idea. So my thinking is there any harm in delaying this decision? And I don't know if we could do a substitute motion for the paras, if that's something you really needed to move on tonight, because I don't think there's any disagreement among the committee that we've got hundreds of refugee students in the district now that absolutely require that additional support. So my question through you, Your Honor, to the superintendent or Mr. Lang, whoever, is would there be harm in delaying the decision about the computer technicians? Thank you.
Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Your Honor. All the recommendations before you tonight are to address immediate needs in the district. So I can't stand here tonight and say that tomorrow we will not have needs throughout the system to address technology issues. To the extent that the committee wishes to, for us to revisit this and bring it forward, clearly we will. But the purpose of the position is to address immediate need.
Ms. Larraba, did you have your hand up? No. Okay.
I guess just to, and I appreciate the superintendent's position, I don't disagree with it, but I think, the value is greater, potentially, and maybe not, maybe I lose the vote, but if I can come up with something that makes sense and show the appropriate funding for it, using part of these monies, and not living in a rock like I did last night. Last night, I believed in it, I thought about it again, I thought additionally, and I think I'd like to make a change to some of my thoughts. I think looking at something that would actually be greater and benefit the system while not harming us any further than we've already been harmed might be of value. And maybe not. Maybe we could vote no on it. I mean, if someone could substitute it, I don't think 2 weeks is going to change the universe. You're not going to be able to hire someone in 2 weeks anyway. And we can, we can take an up and down vote next meeting, support the technicians or support the hybrid motion, one or the other, and we can get moving. That's all I have to say.
Ms. Larraba, then Mr. Leahy.
Just a clarification. My understanding is the computer tech positions are a little more experienced than the computer instructors. In other words, they could do some repairs on the body of the computer. We're not talking about just fixing a printer or fixing a monitor, that these positions are a little more technical based than our computer instructionists who in the past have made little tiny issues, and that these positions would then triage what's going on with the computer to decide if it needs to be sent out, or if we need to have the vendor come in to do a more comprehensive repair. And my understanding, and again, it can change because they've talked about revisiting it, that hybrid position wouldn't have that level of expertise. I think we're kind of talking about two different things here. So I just want to clarify that, please.
Madam Superintendent.
The individuals who we laid off many of them have the expertise that this technician would have. The issue, it's not necessarily all of them, but many of them do. The issue for us is because the cuts were so deep that right now throughout the system, our techie needs are so great because these individuals not only had technological skill sets, but also library skill sets. And as was discussed last night, unfortunately, these positions are not instruction based at all. They won't be. The design is not for them to be working with students in the classroom per se. It really is to support our network, our programs, our technology that our educators and students use in the system. So it's not that people who have been laid off in these positions couldn't apply and be qualified to do so. We're hoping that's the case if these positions get approved, but really it's to address the need throughout the system.
Ms. Larraba.
So these three positions really would be district-wide at all levels. And kind of lost my train of thought there, sorry. District-wide, and as we stated last night, a lot of the programs, the reading programs and the interaction programs are on the computers, and if those go down, instruction stops. And we are in the second day of school. I recall as a PTO treasurer and a PTO president being in school when these things happened and trying to get things fixed. At one point, I was trying to troubleshoot some computers, which, if you know my background, that's a pretty sad statement that I was trying to troubleshoot because we didn't have enough people in district that could get around. They had so many requests, those people couldn't get to all of them. So I guess that's what I'm trying to get to, is that these are strictly techie needs. And no, they don't address the issue that Mr. Leahy and Mr. Leary want of having people in the classroom, but they do address an urgent need, and they do address the instruction part that our teachers need the computers for.
Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. You know, I find myself in an undecided place right now. I mean, we had this discussion last night. We've been having it over the course of time. I do think that the technical needs within our district, which are so closely tied to our ability to take advantage of the computers, of the software, of all the curriculum that's available in an electronic format, you know, just being able to maintain that is a huge endeavor. And I think that, you know, as we look at the kind of package that we looked at last night, I agree with my colleague that in terms of the paraprofessionals, I think we do have absolute agreement on that. But I'm not as convinced about the other positions in terms of the tech positions, as well as the kind of, I don't know what it was, chief IT and
Director of Education Technology.
Thank you, educational technology. And I don't think 2 weeks really would have a huge impact. I mean, I do think we need to put a hard stop date on this, and I think 2 weeks makes sense. And I think that I don't doubt the efforts of the administration to work with both unions that are impacted by this on this proposed hybrid position. I know they have, but I would be willing to take a 2-week pause to see if something could be achieved, because I do think that would be a great solution. And in my mind, I would rather see us take this 2 weeks, really give a good faith effort, and then make the decisions. I mean, the idea is that we need this technical capacity. If we can get it in a way that also offers an educational component, that is the business we are in, and I would find that a compelling proposal, more so than the one we're looking at this evening. So a 2-week kind of pushback so that we have time.
Are you offering that in the form of a substitute motion?
I would offer that in the form of a motion.
To delay action on the motion as presented in the Finance Subcommittee for 2 weeks.
What I think our motion also is to go forward with the paraprofessional positions.
Then we have to
That'd be
divide
separate
the
motion,
question.
okay.
We have to divide the question. So, motion
I'll
to
second
divide the
that.
question by Mr. Leary, second by Ms. Martin. All those in favor of dividing the question, or do we need a roll call?
Divide the question. So the amendment is to divide the question, okay. Mr. Conway?
This is to
Divide,
delay
just
for
to
the 2
divide the
weeks?
question. No, to divide the question. We're going to divide, if you vote to divide the question, we'll probably move on the paraprofessionals this evening, but on the computer technicians in 2 weeks.
So to delay would be what? A yes?
Right now, we're just dividing the question. That's all we're doing right now.
All
not
right,
delaying.
yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
So then the motion in substitution as a divided question would be to delay the appropriation of the $150,000 to fund the 3 computer repair technicians and the $92,232. That actually wasn't part of the motion. That wasn't part of the original motion. So it's really just to delay action on the 3 computer repair technicians. Correct. Motion by Ms. Martin, second by Ms. Doherty. Any discussion? Roll call.
This is a substitute motion.
Correct.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee?
No.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay, approved.
Thank you. And the last part of the...
Substitute motion approved.
Correct. And the last part of the motion, substitute motion, would be to provide 2 newcomer paraprofessional positions. And at this point, I guess I would defer to Madam Superintendent on how we should deal with the fringe benefit aspect of that. If you could maybe give us a number, Mr. Lang?
Sure. The 2 para salaries are $35,746. The 2 benefits packages would equal $23,500. So you'd be approving a total of $59,246 for these 2 paras.
$59,246.
For 5, okay.
My colleagues mind if I ask a question from the chair, from Mr. Lang? I thought last night, I know there was some confusion whether or not there were going to be 3 paras or 2 paras. I guess I left there thinking that it was going to be 3 paras, and then the minutes reflect 2.
The minutes reflected 3 on the quantity, but the actual dollar amounts only added up to the 2. So my take of the discussion during the meeting was we would go with the 2 because that was the funding that was allocated.
Okay.
And the administration would bring back a recommendation for that 3rd one
Okay.
as part of the bigger recommendation
Okay.
with the Director of Ed Technology.
Okay.
But
Thank
that
you.
there was salary and benefits for 2 at this time.
Thank you for that clarification. Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. Just before we vote, we really didn't get into this much last night. Could someone just clarify how many kids are in this program and how many teachers and paras and all that?
Madam Superintendent?
Yes, I'll ask Deputy Superintendent Jean Franco, please, to address.
At this particular point, the classes are filling, but at full capacity, we will have 40 at the Moody School, and we will have 40 students at the Pine Art School, and that's over K through 4 at the Pine, at the Moody, and 5 through 8 at the Pine. So right now, we have 1 paraprofessional and 2 teachers with about 27 children, but that's going to build capacity. We've gotten, this week alone, probably 6 or 7 new children. We expect an influx in October. So at full capacity, there will be 40 students, 20 and 20. Right now, there's 1 para slated for each building after tonight, and that'll be 40 with 1 paraprofessional elementary, 40 with 1 paraprofessional in middle. But it's building. So, and it's coming up every day. We have new students going in.
So we'll have 1 teacher and 1 para for every 20 students?
No, this is giving you 1 para. Right now, we have 2 teachers in each one of the buildings. You're now adding 1 para to each of the buildings.
They don't
Okay.
have.
Because we
Right,
did
right.
not have the
So
money.
at the end result, we'll have 1 teacher, 1 para.
You'll have 2 teachers, 1 para, 2 teachers, 1 para. This para is the first para being officially added, the budgetarily, because we're not unable to get that grant money we went for. And so it will be 40 kids, 2 teachers, 1 para at full capacity, and it's building as we speak.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just not getting it. So 40 students, 20 and 20,
Yes?
and each 20 has 2 teachers?
No.
Okay, all right.
Total
I
of
get
2
that.
teachers, all right, for the 40, and 1 para shared.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on the motion? Roll call?
I need a first and a second on it.
Oh, I thought we did. I'm sorry. Mr. Leary, second by Mr. Leahy.
Mr. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Larrabee. Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Milonazo.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
I believe now we need a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Finance Subcommittee by Mr. Leary, second by Ms. Martin. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda, under the report of the Superintendent, Education Job Funds Report. I know we've talked quite a bit about this over the last 2 nights, but Madam Superintendent?
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you like me to go through the bullet points?
It's up to my colleagues. I know we talked about this, we were all there last night. I don't know if we necessarily need to, we can accept the report as a report of progress. I'm sorry, Ms. Starr.
I'm sweating. I'd love to go home. My only concern is that for the public, they weren't there last night. I mean, maybe just a very brief discussion of the major points of what it means. I don't know.
Thank you.
I don't know if you feel
Thank
that's...
you. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Federal Education Jobs Fund Program, just a brief description. The Ed Jobs Program is a new federal program that provides $10 billion in assistance to states to save or create education jobs that provide educational and related services for early childhood, elementary, and secondary education. The Ed Jobs program supports educational and related services during the 2010-11 school year. As of August 10th, 2010, the date of the enactment of the Act, any district that has funding remaining after the 2010 and 11 school year may use those remaining funds through to September 30th, 2012. District must use its funds only for compensation and benefits and other expenses. For example, salaries, performance bonuses, health insurance, retirement benefits, incentives for early retirement, pension fund contributions, tuition reimbursements, student loan repayment assistance, transportation subsidies, and reimbursement for child care expenses, such as support services necessary to retain existing employees, to recall or rehire former employees, and to hire new employees in order to provide early childhood, elementary, or secondary educational and related services. Districts may use the funds to pay the salaries of teachers and other employees who provide school-level educational and related services. In addition to teachers, employees supported with program funds may include, among others, principals, assistant principals, academic coaches, in-service teacher trainers, classroom aides, counselors, librarians, secretaries, social workers, psychologists, interpreters, physical therapists, speech therapists, occupational therapists, information technology personnel, nurses, athletic coaches, security officers, custodians, maintenance workers, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers. And we do thank the government for forwarding these funds to Lowell Public Schools. They are greatly needed.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Accept the report. It's a report of progress by Ms. Doherty, second by Mr. Conway. All those in favor of accepting the report signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Next report, STEM Pathway Tutors. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm happy to report that the Parker Foundation has provided a $15,000 challenge grant to UMass Lowell to replicate at the Robinson School the math tutoring program that was funded by the Greater Lowell Community Foundation last year at the Stocklosa School, and that was the second year of that program. We've been working hard to secure the match required by Parker at UMass Lowell, and at last they're pleased to announce that the Greater Lowell Community Foundation has agreed not only to renew its support for another year at the Stocklosa, but to provide the match required by Parker so we can expand the school to the the program to the Robinson School. We will thus be able to support 12 tutors at each school, working a total of 75 to 100 hours a week for 8 weeks each semester. Last year, the schedule allowed every Stocklosa math teacher to have a tutor for some part of the week, providing 1,950 hours of assistance in math classrooms. We expect to offer the same support at both schools in the coming years. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any questions? Mr. Leahy?
Sure. This is good, but how do we get this at all our middle schools?
Again, it's through partnering with the partners involved. We did have a meeting. It's limited funds, but they have agreed because of the success of the program at the Stocklosa to take it this year to the Robinson School. So as we show concrete data that shows that we are using the funds wisely and impacting student performance, the Stocklosa School has done very well in its math scores, as you will see at the next school committee meeting. So again, it's the goodwill of these organizations involved, and we keep working to ensure that we spend the monies wisely so people want to continue to reinvest.
I mean, is there a way that we can get the other schools to apply for it then?
No, there is limited funds, and we're really looking at our data and seeing where do these tutors need to go to have the biggest impact. So if there were more monies, we could open it up to more middle schools.
Yeah.
But the good news story this year is that we are expanding the program because we have found additional funds, and it will be expanded to the Robinson School.
All right, it's just, okay.
Any other questions on the report as presented? All those in favor of accepting the report signify by saying aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Motion by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Larrabee to accept the report as a report of progress. Signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. The Homeless Students Report 2009-2010. Madam Superintendent.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Do you have that, Deputy Franco? The homeless report?
Here, I have it right here.
Okay, thanks. Oh, the Vinto one. Thank you. Lowell Public Schools was awarded $40,000 to the McKinney Vinto Educational Grant and $17,700 for the McKinney Vinto American Recovery and Reinvestment Act grant to provide educational support for homeless students and professional development opportunities for our staff. A total of 174 students, grades pre-K to 12, were identified as homeless under the McKinney Vinto and were given transitional and educational support by our educational liaison, who's funded by this grant. Tutoring and outreach services were provided to students and their parents in shelters at scattered sites and hotels and motels. In addition to providing direct services to students and their families, Lowell Public Schools offered a workshop series on trauma, poverty, homelessness, and their impact on learning to more than 50 staff members. The series helped advance understanding of the causes and effects of trauma, poverty, and homelessness, and helped improve interactions and sensitivity towards students and their families.
Any questions, Ms. Larraba? Motion by Ms. Larraba to accept the report as report of progress, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed to the vote. Next item, list of eligible teachers.
As presented, Your Honor.
Moved by Mr. Doherty, second by Mr. Leary, to accept the list of eligible teachers as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. And the last report, the personnel report, Madam Superintendent.
As presented, Your Honor.
Motion to accept the report as presented by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Martin. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Moving on, convention conference requests. We have 3 this evening.
Can we take them together?
Motion by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Leary, to take them together. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Motion to, anybody have any questions on any of them? The first one, again, specialist for English language learner research to attend the 2010 National Refugee and Immigrant Conference from Wednesday, October 6th through Saturday, October 9th. In Chicago, the cost of the conference will not exceed $1,400 and will be funded by the Refugee School Impact Grant Funds. Substitute teacher coverage is not needed. Second request, field trip request, athletic program, Lowell High School Boys and Girls Cross Country Program. Request permission to attend the Manhattan College Invitational held in Yonkers, New York on October 9th. All costs will be paid by the Friends of Lowell High School Track Cross Country Committee. No substitute teachers needed. Field trip request number 3, date change request. The date change is requested for previously approved Lowell High School European field trip. The request is to change the dates from the February vacation to the April vacation, which is Friday, April 15th, 2011 to Saturday, April 23rd, 2011. There is no cost to the school department budget, no school will be missed, and no substitute teachers are needed. Motion to approve all as presented by Mr. Conway, second by Ms. Martin. Roll call.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Larraba? Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Under communications, just as a reminder to our viewing audience, LTC Channel 10 broadcasts the Lowell School Committee meetings live on the first and third Wednesday of the month, Thursday at 6 p.m., Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m., and Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Under professional personnel, civil service, nothing. Motion by Mr. Leary, second by Ms. Larraba to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Thank you for your patience. It was a very warm night here at in the chambers. Thank you.